Father God, in the name of Jesus, we thank you for this time together. We thank you for the gift of the Rich Relationship Podcast. Father, we thank you that even in the midst of everything that's going on, Father, we know that you are good and that you love us and that you have a plan for our life. And even though we are separated, Father, we feel closer to you. Help us to not be led by our emotions or what we think, but Father, allow us to decrease so that you can increase. Father, allow us to continue to establish, help to build, repair, and restore healthy, rich relationships with each other, with you, and with our families. Father, we love you so much, and we just pray that you would prepare the heart of every single listener, and that we won't just be hearers, but that we will be doers. We will practice what we hear, and that this podcast will help us to grow and become more like you and have better relationships. We love you, we glorify you, and lift you up. In Jesus' name, amen. 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 Let's get started. Come on. Your headphones on.
Do a sound check.
Check one, check. Check one, check.
Yeah.
Check one.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. Sounds good. So this one is, what is your return policy?
Yes. What is your return policy?
Okay. And we are going now.
Wow. This is the longest break we've ever taken.
Right.
We have been off for 2 whole weeks.
Yeah, it wasn't by our own choosing though.
No, it's because we've been working on the place where we store our stuff.
Our house. Right.
Trying to get it all ready. And one of the things I could say during this time I really learned about you is that we work well together.
Right.
And so that kind of goes into what this week's episode is about. It's called, What is Your Return Policy? It's something that I wrote for my first book, Tragedy to Majesty, in either 2014 or 2015. And the purpose of this particular episode is, with all the stores that are closing, guess what store is opening right now in our lives?
What's that?
Our personal stores. So just like a store has a policy, what is your return policy? How do you handle being told no? How do you handle being told I don't agree? How do you handle being told this is an area that is a growth area for you? And so we're going to really kind of unpack that during this episode. And so hopefully it will be beneficial, because right now we're in close quarters and we're together a lot more than most people are. And so we wanted to kind of help to give us the tools to be able to be in close quarters and remain close.
Right. Coming up next on this episode of the Rich Relationship Podcast, we're back, y'all.
We're back and we're ready.
Let's go. Okay, we are back, and first off, we want to apologize for kind of going dark. We went dark, like, without letting anybody know. I think this whole thing that's going on just kind of caught everybody off guard and by surprise, so everybody's had to make adjustments.
And do things different.
Right, and do things differently, and so it's been actually a last couple of weeks, so we're actually at episode 40.
Yes,
and
the big 40.
Right.
And guess what? We're not in the closet.
Nope. We
have been upgraded to our own space.
Right, and so there's a video that you actually are setting up and you're going to put up on YouTube just to kind of show some of the things that we actually go through on the episode and doing the recording, so
and
people
what it's
can
like.
see. I know people like to watch.
Yes,
for some reason,
like
you know, I'm not a... you know.
It's not Gil's thing, and so it's not something that he ever wants to do, but it's something that we have to do. It's necessary.
I understand.
Especially now, because most people are at home and they're by themselves, and so I figure it would be nice to shoot some video footage of the podcast so they can see what we do and how it goes, and so they kind of see the background of it.
Right. So that's okay. So I'm open to it. If people want to watch it, enjoy it.
Yes. Because you see, the problem is, hey, everybody, see, Gil always says every week, see you next week. So this is kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, because you've been saying that all along.
All right. And you love video, so just like I like audio.
Yes.
So, but that's okay.
True.
It's a balance. It's a balance. So we are actually going to be talking about what's your return policy. So why don't you kind of kick it off with kind of give everybody an understanding of what you wrote. You mentioned it in the intro, but what you wrote and why is it so important now that we're at the place we're at right now?
Well, it's one of the devotionals in the book, Tragedy to Majesty. It was when I didn't even know I was a writer. I was just getting mad and instead of talking about it, I wrote it out. And I was in a situation where I went to someone about something that was going wrong, and I wanted to let them know that I didn't agree with the way things were being handled, and I wanted to present my complaint or concern. And the way the person made me feel, they made me feel like, I don't know if you guys remember it or not, but Burlington Coat Factory used to have a policy where you couldn't return, it was only in exchange. And for me, when I buy something, I want to be able to return it and get my money back. I don't want to be told that all sales are finals, I can only get an exchange. And so that was the way they made me feel. They made me feel as if all you can do is tell me how you feel. I'm not going to change. I'm not going to acknowledge it. I'm not going to listen to you. And so that's what made me write What's Your Return Policy? Because we do have policies in our relationships. And so it just kind of, I felt that, and I had decided to make this the title of this episode a couple of weeks ago. And so I just thought it was amazing how God's timing, with all the stores being closed, now our personal stores are opening. And so we need to kind of lay some ground rules and establish some policies and guidelines for how we're going to interact with our families. Because right now, some people are not at work and they're at home and they're together a lot more than they probably ever have been. Right. And so I wanted to kind of help us to kind of think about, how do you react when someone tells you something that you don't agree with, you don't like, or that it may be a growth area? How do you respond to that?
You know, we have been talking about multiple things over the past 39 episodes about relationships and conflict resolution and communication and differences in people
and love and sex and money.
And this kind of merges into all of that.
Yes.
You know, this kind of is a culmination of all the things we kind of talk about, being able to navigate these areas when it comes to your relationships. And I think what's going on in society right now that you just said, that forced us to come home, and a lot of people are working from home, and a lot of people are unfortunately laid off from their jobs. And so
that can cause a lot of stress.
Right, absolutely. And so now they are in a place and in a position that they have time.
Right.
You know, you can look at it as a problem, or you can look at this as a blessing. You know, not that people getting sick is the part that I'm talking about.
And not that even being laid off is but a part of it is we have to learn how to turn our lemons into lemonade. Because it's really up to you. You can be miserable, mad, or angry. It's not going to make things go by faster. So it's better to take the time. Because my position is always, Lord, instead of saying, I want this to be over, Lord, teach me what I need to learn during this time so that I don't go through this again. But not be in a rush for it to be over, because there's something we all need to learn whenever things change drastically.
Right. And I'm even thinking about, what is it that I can make the best use of my time
with?
You've
been seeing that.
You know, and I've been thinking about that, not just from a vocational standpoint, but just relational, you know, with you. And just like you said, we've been doing a lot of home improvement projects around it, which a lot of people are doing.
Whoa, a lot.
Because they have time now.
Right.
So they have time to do some things that have been neglected, you know, or kind of pushed to the back burner. And that's how our relationships are. You know, there are things that now that you're forced to come home, or now you can actually attend to some of the things that maybe that conversation that you pushed to the back burner that you should be having with your spouse or your significant other, that now you have an opportunity to deal with it and to do something about it.
And we want to make sure that you're equipped to deal with it properly.
Right.
Because no one likes to be told something that they don't like to hear. But I think a part of what you have to learn to do is to understand we're all under construction.
Sure.
None of us are finished. And to me, to have the attitude that don't tell me nothing, I don't want to hear it, that is the position of a person with a low emotional IQ.
Sure.
We've talked about that, the emotional IQ. And so this is an opportunity for us to allow our emotional IQ to grow and develop by understanding that people are going to tell us things we don't like. They're going to say no. We're going to be confronted with our growth areas. But how do we deal with that?
Right. And one thing that kind of came to mind during one of my devotional times this past week was James chapter 4, that tomorrow is not promised to anyone. You know,
if
you want to hear the rest of the episode, go over to the richrelationshipsus.com website and you can hear the rest of this episode, or You can go to YouTube and look at some of the other things that were there, but we just want to give you a quick shot of the videos of what we do behind the scenes. And we thank you for watching. We thank you for listening. Be safe out there. Stay clean, stay hygiened, and all the things that we being told to do it and enjoy. But take this time and use it towards getting better yourself.
Love you guys. Bye-bye.
Love you. Bye.